reviewed. So Craig and I have been getting him ramped up. If you watch the first episode, coming not off the couch, but getting back into training with an eye on Masters Nationals. And one thing that can be tough when we're looking at metrics and we're setting intervals for ourselves and we're getting things like re-ramped. It's sort of like, where am I at? What should my levels be? And even so, when you get into the season and we're in blocks of training, sometimes we can lean on WKO and look at the numbers that they provide, knowing that it's a 90-day rolling window, which 90 days is really far away. So, people will have 300 FTP and then one day it says like 260. And it's like, well, wait, what happened? Did you just lose 40 watts? No, clearly not. But had you been paying attention to this, you may have lost 20 watts 3 weeks ago because you haven't tested it. You haven't done it. You've been too overly focused on one thing. You've only been doing group rides. You've only been racing. So what we kind of want to jump into is talk about an interval that we had Craig do last week. If there's any other things that you want to talk about in the past few weeks, Craig, we can bring that up as well. But I think if we highlight this mFTP from Detraining chart, it's really interesting and just another good tool for us to have. And let me see, I got to share my screen here so that this records. Let's see if I can, I've never done this before. Okay. Actually, I think it'll do the whole desktop. Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping so. Can you see my Training Peaks calendar?
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about the workout and what you thought. We had, kind of review. Craig came back in, did a couple rides, did a 25-minute effort, has been going to do a social ride. We had set his FTP at 325 just based off mFTP, and we were like, well, let's just start with that and see what happens. Because he really, he had been riding before, but no formal tests, etc., no races. Obviously, it's been COVID. And as we start getting into, he's been in the gym lifting, we want to start doing some extensive aerobic stuff. I really want to see what his time to exhaustion is going to be. And I know Craig is a guy that I can say, even if this was too stout of an effort, even if he was only doing 280, he's not going to quit. He's going to say, I did 40 minutes and I got 280. Every athlete's not that way. I really think that we've tried to preach a little bit that even though it's important to have, these durations and the wattages set properly, if you go out and you have a bad ride, just finish the ride. Don't pull the plug and let the numbers totally mess you up. So knowing Craig's a strong-minded guy, I was like, just go do it. What were your thoughts about this workout coming in after you did do 20 minutes at 317 twice, I believe? Yeah. And the last one was 288, but you kind of had some like funky.
Yeah, that was the RV running me off the road. But going into the extensive aerobic one, I looked at it and thought, yeah, 295 or above for 40 minutes. I think I should be able to do that no problem. Even though I was coming off back-to-back pretty big rides, I still thought it would not be that tough. But I got out there and like 5 minutes in, I'm like, this is just going to be a suffer fest.
What were you aiming for?
I mean, I was starting low.
And sorry to cut you off. What's your pacing for a thing like this, knowing that you've had 2 hard rides before, but you're like, what do you think? How are you approaching this?
I was trying to go out around 300 and then ramp it up, the last 20 minutes. So I was thinking if I'm at 300 with 20 minutes to go, I'll just, lift it from there. Mm-hmm. And I think at the 20-minute mark, I was at 299, mm-hmm. but it was starting to, it was going the wrong direction. so
that's good to note, though. That's good to have that capacity so that you don't explode.
And the thing is, I mean, we all know it's never going to feel good. This workout is never going to feel good because you're trying to really push yourself. But, we've ridden enough to know that, okay, I'm in the suffer point where I'm used to, but when you look down and you see watts that don't match up what you're typically feeling, it's one thing to be hurting and putting out, 340, but to be hurting and hitting 295, I knew I was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one thing is, when if we had just said, hey, which what we kind of did, let's just use 325. If you guys use WKO, and I've got yours, just a screenshot pulled up here, you can get this chart, which is called, I can't move your, there we go, mFTP ranges for detraining. So it's going to basically look at the past, whether 28 days, 42 days, or 90 days. So on this day, it had said he had an FTP of 321. So you're like, yeah, 295 to 315, that's not too bad. When we really look, though, at the past month alone, it's only at 300. And so you could say, well, maybe you guys were just talking. He didn't test that much, but he had 25-minute efforts in there, 20-minute efforts in there. Asking him to do 295 to 315, I didn't look at this beforehand. It really was pretty stout. I mean, he's riding 40 minutes of pure, almost 100% threshold. He's at 299, 20 minutes in. 315 was probably just a little bit out of reach. And I think this is a good thing to always just peek your head in and see what's going on. Don't be a slave to this, because we want to, hammer home that you might have a lower number just because you haven't tested it. But if you've been doing FTP stuff, I mean, the past 28 days is going to be pretty accurate. If you've been doing a VO2 max block and doing all 3-minute and 5-minute efforts, and then you go on a rest week, and then you go on a race, and something else happens, and now you're 6 weeks away from an FTP test, it might be lower. It's going to show lower than what you actually are. So,
yeah, if you went back, a couple comments here. If you went back and looked at, the drop when you were scrolling through the Training Peaks calendar, you could see August was very sparse as far as workouts at all went. Mm-hmm. And then, me as a, I mean, look at that, it's just blank. Me as a rider, I hate long intervals, and definition of long to me is anything over 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, sorry. I'm doing a lot of the VO2 max, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I enjoy that stuff. And so to your point, I'm not riding long, hard, and I wasn't riding at all. And so you just see the dropping off the cliff there in August. So, and I remember commenting after the first interval workout you prescribed for me. I was like, this wasn't as good as I thought it was, but I don't, my 90-day numbers look okay, but I don't think I knew I wasn't where those 90-day numbers suggested I was.
Yes, exactly. And it's really interesting. I mean, I've had myself, I screenshotted this. So I went through, and once I got the Lactigo, let me see. Sometimes my computer runs really slowly when I try to do this, but if we can follow, so before I got the Lactigo, if I had looked on 920, my past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks of training, because there's always a rest week in there, would have been 350. I know my FTP is not 350. Clearly, I've been smashing Lactigo, VO2 max PRs, to test this product out for them. Then I finally, let me move this little screen. I go and I smash 446 for 20 minutes, and it bumps me up to 416. So the numbers are important, but don't become overly obsessed with them. And this is actually really interesting to me, because in my head, I was thinking that the lowest, that the 90-day would always be the highest, but that's not always the case. Which I don't know how that algorithm differs. Cause on the 10th, the only thing I did that would have bumped this up, I did 3-minute max, VO2 max, lifetime PR, and then I did a 10-minute KOM. And I'm surprised that it bumped me up to 415 from 406. So even, I don't know what their algorithm is, but it's still getting some like info, we'll call it, from a 10-minute effort. But I mean, I think an athlete should really have a sense of, if I go from back when I was in my mid 20s, I was always solidly around like 420 FTP. And that, though, I think was a little high because it was harder to tease out what was anaerobic contribution and what was aerobic. I think everybody was a little high then. We were using 20-minute test too much. We were using the histogram of watts too much. We didn't really have a great sense of FRC. I never would have thought that I had an FRC in the high 20s. It just hit 30 after some of these VO2 max tests. But that's my point, is like, I crushed some VO2 max and it dropped me down to 399. But I'm like, oh, how did I go from 405 to 416 to 399? Like, those seem like big swings, but it's just the computer getting a better sense of who you are, but it doesn't change your 20-minute or hour effort that much. Like,
and so when the model was suggesting your FTP was going down, that was at the same time your FRC is going up, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So, I think it's an interesting other graph where you can look at your contribution of watts of anaerobic and aerobic.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I was going to say before is I think it's important for an athlete to get a sense of like, what's my unfit FTP? I'm probably like off the couch. If I didn't train, I could probably do 350 for an hour, I think. I've just been lifting and I haven't been doing long, intense stuff, probably 375. I'm flying 415 with a high FRC. Now I could say, there were times before when if I used other calculations for FTP, I could be like, it's 430. It's like, dude, you just have a huge anaerobic battery that's crushing when you start to fatigue a little bit. So I think the take home message from this, from my standpoint, is just, understanding that your FTP is going to change. It's going to change with a single workout, and it's going to change when a workout 3 months ago falls off the calendar. Like, you got to be in tune with where you're really at in these 1 month and 3 month segments. And it's not a knock on the software, like it's doing the best job that it can. But, if people watch the interview with Raleigh, he doesn't train with power. He's achieved amazing things. He knows himself as a cyclist. And that's the biggest difference. In someone commented in our chat group when we saw that Tadej Pogačar rode the last section of the TT and the Tour de France with no power. And someone said, pros know how to do this. And I commented back, actually, we all need to know how to do this. Like, you need to know yourself. So this is a great tool and we love this and we use WKO like crazy. But one thing I'm going to put out also that kind of stemmed from Raleigh's talk is, let's take a step back. And even though Craig hates doing these longer workouts, some of the things we're going to do is looking at his TTE and doing it at 100%, and then going longer, but doing it at a lower percentage of FTP. Like, we're getting super specific in the prescriptions, but if you don't have it, just keep riding. Like, don't let it crush you mentally. And it really does to some athletes. They see this as the Bible, and it's like, completing workouts sometimes, and maybe we should say this, I have to think about this, but I'll say it one time. Completing workouts is like the most optimized way of training. Like, the specific watts, the specific duration, perfect. But if you still went out and rode your bike and you didn't coast and you actually pedaled, you're going to get something from that. Is it the best? No. Is it something? Yes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, for sure. You're organically going to get faster just by riding. And, every workout does not have to be the perfect workout. If you're out there and you're riding and you have a general direction of where you want to go, and you have a concept of periodization and you understand about workload and a little bit of recovery, you're going to be fine. But, what we're trying to go after, you really do need to get into the weeds, because we're talking, the last few percentages of getting to your very best. but for, most riders just wanting to get faster, go ride your bike, understand periodization, recovery, and workload, and you're going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Looking ahead, a few days ahead, you've got a power dip test coming up on Saturday. And, the first glance at a power duration curve may suggest, man, I wonder why he's picking, 20-second, 1 minute, 3 minute, those are ranges that this rider, me, is above the curve. So maybe, comment on why you wouldn't want to pick a longer duration, 15 or 35, coming off of a couple of days of, recovery.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing when an athlete is getting ready for races, and this is a good thing to talk about in like a rest week and a taper week, we won't totally delve into the difference of those, but when you come off of a rest week, number one, long rides are usually harder. Your body, you just kind of like, when you rest, you feel kind of crappy when you come back initially. It's something that we've been, you can do openers during that week, but as you're resting, you're not losing aerobic fitness, but longer efforts are much more difficult, which is why when you taper for a road race, people hear taper and they think rest, and they're going so easy for 4 days, 5 days, and they don't feel good at the bike race. And they're like, I don't know what I did wrong. I'm like, you rested too much. Like if I have a race on a Saturday, the athlete is doing a hard ride on Tuesday, and then they're still going to do openers the day before and like an endurance ride with openers 2 days before. So when you have something though that is like a prologue TT, or if you were a track rider, you're going to be able to put out, it's going to hurt, but you will put out the highest watts with more rest. So road race, less rest, staying sharp. Prologue TT, track, short track event. A crit, yes and no. It depends on if they're like a pure sprinter or whatever, but you're going to have better watts for short duration stuff after rest. So I look at things that are 2 minutes or less. So like 20 seconds. A lot of times people have a gap here and I'll have them do a 5-minute max sprint. So I have you 20 seconds and I want you to beat the PD curve. Here we go. So it has, you must have okay, so 8:30. This should actually be 8:50. Sorry, got to make this harder. And then the reason I picked 1 minute, 2 minute, and 3 minute, you're actually, like you're saying, you're already above the curve. There's not really many things to test. Those are just good 3 solid durations. Let's see if you can beat what you've already done. A lot of times people have 2 or 3 gaps, and those are a great place to choose. I will every once in a while throw a 5 or 6 minute effort in just to see how an athlete does. If an athlete can do those well, it's usually like one and done. You're not going to have much repeatability, but that's fine. So yeah, those are fun rides. People set lifetime PRs on that ride, and we'll show people what it is basically. First day is off. Second day is recovery. Do not go above 60%. Do low endurance. So, 65% FTP and a couple 30-second little openers, not a full max blowout sprint. It's a VO2 max, like, hey, I'm still riding my bike, body. Don't forget about me. I sometimes take this as a recovery ride. If you're feeling really good, you could do an endurance ride, and that will help with the stale feeling. And then low endurance and overs again. And then people just shred these rides. So hopefully you crush it. And if you ordered Lactigo, you definitely will.
I better put it on order.
Dude, you bet it sports. Their tagline needs to be sports will change forever. It is incredible. Wally just PR'd, I PR'd, another guy in Tennessee just got a KOM. It's starting to like drip into people's mailbox, and a ton of people have ordered it. I've never seen, and in 10 years, I have never seen anything like this. I'm going to make a video about it, and people are like, I know, shut up about this stuff. But seriously,
you got to keep it quiet.
That's just not my thing. My one buddy was always like, man, you are a sharer. He's like, you will find something at Wegmans that's on sale. I'm like, yo guys, this is going to make, it's insane. it just, ah. And it was crazy a couple weeks testing that stuff. The guy challenged me. He found the blog on supplements and knew I was into beta alanine and was like, hey, man, let me send you some. Will you try it? I'm like, sure, I'll try. He's like, you're on PR. And I was like, big claim. And then everything was a lifetime PR except for the first time I did it coming off rest week. I tried a 5-minute one and I got 5:03, which was a season PR by 25 watts. I'll take it. But then the 3-minute, 2-minute, 1-minute, 6.5 hour, and 20-minute were just like off the charts, insane. The one ride was my highest average watts for 3.5 hours and beyond. So like even a thing like gravel worlds where it's a race, but it's gravel, you're not even coasting. I beat that by 25 watts. So I'm like, if you don't use it,
You're a believer.
oh my God, I'm going to be on this soapbox until I stop crushing. I'm going to try and do next. I'm going to try repeatability. I've probably got a month left of like training that I'm down to do. It's been a long year, but I'm excited because of this product. And then I really want to dial it back in November and December, hit the weights, start doing some of the longer tempo stuff, focus on my strength. And that's actually one thing I'm going to make, like a picture to help people conceptualize easily the like five blocks that you can do to quickly get ready, not quickly, to best arrange your training to get ready for springtime. So,
Cool.
All right, man, you got any final thoughts?
No, I'm glad to be jumping back in. I like the mindless, just open it up, see what he's got, and go do it.
And these are some things that I'm gonna tweak these a little bit because the extensive aerobic stuff is interesting. So it's not 100% FTP; it's 100% of your time to exhaustion.
Right.
And I want to make that clear for people. And so, because this is under, now that we know you're like a 325 FTP, 300, what is that percentage? 300 is 92. Yeah. So it is like a sweet spot, high tempo. So I'm curious to see how these go. And then this is your time to exhaustion times 1.2, and then same percentage. You're kind of one of the guinea pigs that I've got doing that. So anyways, but this is good because I think we'll make that maybe the next video. You'll be with the chart that I make. So cool. And we'll talk lifting too. I'm excited to hear about what you're doing and how you feel that's progressing. But this is a good one for now. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Good. Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.